So if you are on the fence of whether or not you want to send your child to public or private school, or whether you want to homeschool, especially starting in preschool or kindergarten, I have an entire blog post dedicated to helping you figure out maybe the path you should take, knowing exactly the materials you need, answering frequently asked questions, and kind of helping you navigate how to truly start homeschooling at kindergarten. This video is going to be more geared towards how to use the Westman Academy homeschool curriculum for your preschooler or kindergartner. This curriculum is both preschool and kindergarten combined, and so I wanted to answer some questions that I get asked a lot and show you inside of the curriculum so you can see whether or not this curriculum is a fit for you, your homeschooling method, and your child. So to start off, I really wanted to focus on the number one question that I get, which is this curriculum going to be too hard for my preschooler? Is this curriculum going to be too easy for my kindergartner? And the best way that I can describe this or help you is by just referring you to the scope and sequence pages of the book. I have 2 samples up on my website. You can have a week-long sample completely free for book 1 and for book 4. So book 4 is the start of where I wouldn't necessarily say preschool ends, but where the kindergarten skills really increase and the difficulty becomes more prominent. So your child will be doing more subjects, the work will be harder, and everything will be geared more towards your child versus you. So what I mean by that is every lesson before your child begins has a lesson overview and checklist. In the first 3 books, you and your child will be completing 4 activities. These activities are going to be cross-curricular. So for example, we have Bible, social, emotional, and creative arts, language arts and science, and math. This changes with every lesson. Sometimes math might be with language arts, sometimes science will be with creative arts, but you will always complete those subjects. You can find everything that is covered in these books at the very beginning. This is also in your sample that you can download for free. This will help you to identify where your child is at. So if I were to look at book 2 and say, oh, does my child recognize letters K through O? Can they identify the name and the sound? It says children begin to share ideas through multiple means of expression. They can determine if 2 words rhyme. They can identify words starting with the same letter and same sound. So you can kind of see, does my child know this? Or does my child need more work on this or with this? And the goal of books 1 through 3 is really setting up your child to be successful during books 4 through 7. So whether or not your child has completed kindergarten in the past or preschool, they may need to complete books 1 through 3 just for mastery purposes. No matter what, it will help them. And the good thing about this curriculum, how I created it, is any activity or lesson can be skipped if it is too easy or too hard, and it won't affect the next activity. So for example, if I wanted my child to complete in book 1, lesson 11, this tracing. This is my daughter's. She was able to do tracing, let's say, but then we got to math and she was just not ready. She wasn't able to count. You can skip it and it's not going to affect the next lesson, which would be science, learning the life cycle of a butterfly. So you can easily skip or adapt the lessons to your child's ability. Now, if my child has already completed kindergarten, they're pretty good at tracing. Maybe I would skip that page because it just wouldn't be worth our time. Again, it's not going to affect the future lessons. I will say that throughout all of the books, you will see reoccurring concepts. So for example, scientific observation, that is shown in book 2. Book 4. And they really focus on how do I use my senses to look at things scientifically? How can I observe a leaf or baking bread? How can I do that through a scientific investigation lens? Now, in order for them to be able to do this, they have to understand their 5 senses, which are then covered in a more introductory way in books 1 through 3. So concepts will be throughout the books and can increase in difficulty, or they may just be shown in a different light, if that makes sense. So it won't be the exact same activity, but it will be focusing on mastering the same concept. Now, if you have a preschooler and you are finding, oh, this might be a little bit too difficult, you can also skip it and it's okay. What I plan to do personally, my children have already completed books 1 through 3 once. I skipped multiple things because my children were 2 and 3. 2 and 4 at the time. They're 18 months apart, so sometimes they're technically 1 year difference. But I was able to skip anything that might have been too hard. Handwriting or tracing that was just too hard. Now, we are going through the curriculum again. My children are on book 2. We have had a semi-slow start, but we're almost done with book 2. My daughter has really progressed and has really mastered concepts very quickly, whereas my son, certain concepts in math and science he has down, but the language arts part he hasn't. So what I'm going to do is redo this curriculum the next year with him. And my daughter is actually working on book 2 and book 4 at the same time. So I have my daughter and son working together currently on the same thing in book 2, and then I pull my daughter aside to work on the harder concepts, more kindergarten level concepts in book 4. So I wanted to show you how the books are set up from book 4 through book 7. You're going to have the same type of setup. You have a page that tells you all the materials that you are needing. So it gives you a book list, the baking ingredients you need, sensory bin ideas, and the supply list that you will need. Again, you will notice that the scope and sequence is a little bit different from books 1 through 3. More subjects are added in. So with books 4 through 7, you are going to have calendar, social skills, Bible, reading, sight words, phonics, writing, math, science, and social studies. And in books 1 through 3, the lesson overview is going to be directed at you. There's going to be scripted things that you can use to help teach your children, but it's going to be geared towards the parent. So, for example, it says your child is going to be playing a human anatomy game online today. And then it gives you the link. You're going to help your child to identify body parts. Anything that is highlighted in yellow tells you it's something that you need to prep beforehand. So here's just some pages. I'll kind of flip through. They have to glue marshmallows onto the number that matches the teacup or the hot chocolate cup to go with letter H. There are little social skill booklets. So this one is Coping with Change, helping your children to grow socially and emotionally, identifying their emotions, and then putting that into practice. What are you going to do with these emotions? What is a good choice that you are going to make when you are feeling this way? And books 1 through 3 really hone in on what are your emotions? Can you identify your emotions? And then books 4 through 7 is going to be, okay, now you're going to use the knowledge that you learned about your emotions and how to deal with them, place them into scenarios, and you're going to help the imagination characters to pick a good decision. Again, we have Coping with Change 1, Coping with Change 2. We have a garbage truck activity. This I laminated, cut out all the pieces and laminated and made it a puzzle. Your child can also glue on these pieces to create the full garbage truck. Lots of hands-on activities. Although it is 7 books, it looks like a lot of book work. I promise it's not. A good chunk of it is actually hands-on, and anything done in the book is going to be a hands-on activity, whether that be gluing, cutting, coloring, painting, Velcro, however you want to do it. As the parent, you are able to make that decision to be as crafty or not crafty as you want, or as much as you want your child to be. So whereas this lesson overview and checklist is pointed towards you as a parent, once you start lessons in books 4 through 7, it's going to be geared towards your child. So what I'm doing with my daughter is she colors in the dots every time she finishes the activity. So for example, it says read Exodus 2:1-25 with a parent, complete the Bible relations page, complete the reading skill, compare and contrast. They also have a character checklist for every day at the bottom. These are going to be things that help them work on skills for their character. That's why it's called a character checklist, for their everyday life, to help them grow as a better, productive member of society or person. This says reciting your daily Bible verse, help gather and take out the trash, create a prayer and recite it out loud. Let's look at what is included in this lesson. So this is actually lesson 1 of book 6. They're filling out the month-long calendar. The way that these books are set up, book 1 and book 2 are 10 weeks long. Book 3 is 4 weeks long. From book 3 on is 4 weeks long. So essentially this curriculum is set up so that you can complete it in a year, or your child can complete it in a year, but you definitely can take your time. You can complete books 1 through 3 in a year, go back, do them again the next year, or you can start books 4 through 7 the following year. So they're creating their month-long calendar. If it takes them more than a month, no big deal. This curriculum is flexible. It's made to be flexible. That is how I created it, and that is how I personally use it. So here's the Bible study. I try to have something that the child can work on as you're reading the Bible to them. You don't have to use this. This is the easy read version. It is written and translated in a way that's easy for a preschooler or kindergartner to understand. This is their Bible relations page. Again, this is book 6, so their tracing is going to be longer. They're going to be expected to do more because they've slowly worked up to being able to do that. They are learning the reading skill, compare and contrast. You have a page that you teach with them, you learn with them. The parent isn't going to do much direct instruction. You are learning alongside your child, which is part of the Westman Academy teaching method. And you can learn more about that method and about how this curriculum is set up in that blog post found at westmanacademyhomeschool.com. I will also link it below. And then here's their activity. So after they have learned about their reading skill, they're going to do an activity to help try to master that. So they're comparing and contrasting a rainy day versus a sunny day. Then they're going to work on their sight words, do some writing, practice punctuation. They're also going to be working on word families. This is the Ed word family. These are going to be tracing capital and lowercase letters. Again, they're going to be working on tracing those and working on identifying letters, names, and sounds, capitals, lowercase, throughout books 1 through 3. So this is something that they should already have mastered. They're just practicing their handwriting to make it nicer. Okay, then for math, they're going to be creating groups of 10. They're going to be circling to make a group of 10, and then they have to figure out how many groups of 10s there are, and then how many ones are left over. So for example, there's one group of 10 and 1 in the ones column, making there be 11 chickens or whatever animal is on the page. They're going to be working with rods. Again, if you have these manipulatives, 100% get them out. That is what I encourage with this curriculum. Always do something hands-on with your child, whether you are using pencils, actual manipulatives, wooden manipulatives, rocks, leaves, sticks, it doesn't matter. Anything so that they can physically touch and hold and create these groups of 10. So I always encourage that. For science, they're going to be learning about the moon. I actually laminated this activity for my kiddos. They're going to be tracing the planet and then rewriting it down below. And throughout the week, they are going to keep working on the same type of topics. So they are going to be working on space. This whole book is actually about space. The outside even has stars, really beautiful watercolor. So then you go to lesson 2. So for example, your character checklist, you're going to practice your daily Bible verse and sight words, pick up toys and put them away, give 2 people a compliment. So again, your child's going to be working on coloring in the activity that they complete. Now, again, if you look at this and you think, this is something we don't need to work on, this is too hard right now, skip it, don't worry about it. it's not going to affect your other lessons. I'm just going to flip through this book really quickly. If it seems like I'm talking really fast, that's because it is. I am. My son is sleeping over here. I'm trying to get through before he cries. And I also recorded this video last week and it ended up being an hour long. So I'm trying to prevent that from happening. So you have a different calendar. The calendar changes up. You have your Bible verse. It does get, some can get long, some are short. Then they are going to be using a sponge and painting the burning bush below. Practicing their Bible study, so their Bible memory verse. And then again, working on comparing and contrasting. Read that story out loud. It's the three little pigs. And then it says, think about how they built their house. What happened? How was different? What was different? How was it the same? What was their work ethic like? I'm going to quickly go through this. You are going to have this page every single book from book 4 through 7 until you get through all of the sight words. I laminate these and I actually have a string in my homeschool room that we clip up all of our sight words, and it's kind of our sight word wall. Going to be doing phonics. This is again the Ed word family. Writing, now we're doing K through T. I laminated and cut these out as well, the different ways of making 10. And then for this activity, you're going to cut out these little moons. There's a number here, and I laminated this as well. You're going to glue on the number up here, and these are moon facts. So how many days does it take for the moon to rotate around the earth? That's number 4. Your child will flip it up. The moon rotates around the earth in 27 earth days. So again, learning about the moon. That's kind of this week's topic. They have a poster board talking about the anatomy of the moon, and then goes on to lesson 3. There is a lot of hands-on. There's also going to be nature studies where they're going to have a different setup for the day. So generally every day is set up similar so that your child knows what to expect and are able to complete it more on their own. And then I throw in kind of more of a fun nature study type day. So I'm just going to flip through some different pages just to show you. This is writing. It says they're going to be working on descriptive writing, and they're going to be writing some areas describing themselves, the type of person that they are. Remember, God created us with our own unique talents and personalities. Counting by 5s. They're going to be creating the sun. Here's an example. They're learning about the 10 plagues, cutting those out. Descriptive writing, using fruit, touch, taste, your senses. Again, they would have gotten the basic understanding and knowledge of your 5 senses by doing books 1 through 3. So it really helps with mastery. Going to do a lot of Aesop's fables. Those are really good for teaching different themes. Going to be learning and doing artwork, famous artwork. They're going to be doing a nature journal, journaling about something that they see outside, trees, lawns, leaves. They're going to be baking. Here's a brownie recipe. So they're going to be doing a lot of things, a lot more than just bookwork. Here's some Clip and Count cards, Space Edition. They're going to be learning about their shapes. Again, they're going to make it. They're going to write it, count it. And if you have the manipulatives, absolutely use those so that your child has the hands-on feel and learning to go along with it. So definitely want to encourage it to be hands-on if it can. What shape goes, what real life items go with what shape. And this is just one book. This is supposed to be covered in 1 month. In the last week, they're going to do an assessment. You will have already seen this in book 4. And it's just to ensure that your child is mastering what needs to be mastered, and you can track kind of their progress, what needs to be worked on still, if they can sound out words, how they write their letters, their skill assessment for compare and contrast, their skill assessment for finding theme, skill assessment for events, highlighting the describing words. Can they tell you which shape is which? Can they count by 2, by 5s? So this is just going to give you a general idea on where your child is at. Then they always have a ministry. From books 4 through 7, they always have a ministry week where they focus on really doing God's work for the people in their community or around them. This one is going to be that they are creating little baskets or goodie bags for workers. This says for, you could do the fire department, the police station, nurses, doctors, and just getting a little basket together of things that you can give them to show your thanks and appreciation. So that is what their ministry work is going to be for this book. And then they're going to be working on a book of thanks. So every book from book 4 through 7, they're going to be adding to their book of thanks, and really they're going to be learning the appreciation of what they have been given from God. So in the month of blank, God has blessed me with, and then they're going to write that in. Create a collage from a newspaper, magazine, or online pictures of things that you love. Read and pray the prayer at the bottom of the page as a reminder that God is the one who has placed on our hearts what we love. And then they're going to just glue that on here. And the goal is by the end of book 7, they have this big book of praise and thanks that they can really recognize what has God given me in my life, in what I have now, and just be a good reminder that our life is created to praise and glorify God. And we must recognize all the good things that He has given us, and we must teach our children to recognize those things as well. So hopefully this video has helped you. I'm sorry it's still going to be 20-30 minutes long. I've tried to talk quickly, but I really wanted to give you guys good insight on this curriculum, how it is laid out. This is going to be more of a traditional curriculum in the sense that it does cover multiple subjects or all your subjects in together, whereas something like unschooling, you're not going to have specific subjects. I did want to incorporate a lot of nature, a lot of beauty in music and artwork, definitely hands-on. So that is what this curriculum is going to be under. This curriculum and the Westman Academy method focuses on the parent and child working together. It's not I'm teaching you always and you're sitting there listening and then we do and then you do. This is we are working together, we are learning together. I am right here beside you. If you want to take off and try and do these things on your own, great, but no, I'm right here with you. Another thing that I wanted for this curriculum is for it to be faith-based. Everything, and this goes again with the Westman Academy method, everything is faith-based. If we go outside and we look at the grass, look at the dandelions, we can see those as weeds or we can see them as God's creation, and we always point everything back to God. God created this, God gave us this, this is how God envisioned for this, this relates to the garden with Adam and Eve, this relates to David and Goliath. We're always making biblical connections, and that's what I want with this curriculum, and that's what I want in my children's life. Another thing that this curriculum and the Westman Academy method focuses on is less prep and more exploring and learning with your children. Again, I mentioned this before, everything that needs to be prepped, sorry, don't mind my 1-year-old, is going to be highlighted. Most of those, the prep work is just going to be gathering things that you need, for example, ingredients to make Play-Doh or sensory bins or something that needs cut out. Again, utilize this curriculum by either tearing out the pages if you bought the hard copy, printing off the pages, laminating them, and Velcroing them so that you can keep reusing these activities and pages with your future children or with the child that you're working on, so that you can kind of create this big stack of activities that they can get out and they can Velcro things, place things in living versus non-living. Again, create the little flashcards, laminate the social emotional cards, coping with change, accepting decisions, learning to use your words. All those types of things will be utilized best if you can keep reusing them. Even if your child has mastered it, even if they can look at everything living and non-living, sort it out, keep that activity, allow them to keep using it over and over. Hopefully this helps. Sorry that it was long. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope that this blog post on starting your homeschool journey with your kindergartner, even if you're not using this curriculum, can just be a blessing and an encouragement to you. I truly believe that God created us for our children and our children for us, and that He has given us this great ability to teach them. He has called us to teach them. So whether you do that through homeschooling or whether you just do that on the side of their daily schooling, you are a blessing to your child and you have been called to teach. You can do it. I am praying for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope and pray that your homeschool journey will just be fulfilling, joyful. It will be stressful, but know that God does not call the equipped, He equips the called. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my